Hello there once again, everyone. It's uxwbill here, and this object should be pretty familiar, although maybe not in this state. This is the little Sears Boombox that I picked up at the Hamfest the other day, and as I mentioned in the video, I really thought the tape mechanism was working quite well, and it was just a matter of the crappy tape that I was playing. But it didn't take too long for the wheels to completely fall off of the whole tape system in this thing, and the speed to just go haywire, and of course the cause is simply belts. So I took this thing apart, and it's a good thing that I did, because I definitely discovered a few problems along the way. At some point in this thing's life, I don't know if someone was inside it or what, or if it was dropped, but this little mounting post that held the left-hand speaker in place was sheared off. Luckily there's an unused post down here, so I just moved this down by one. Now, getting this thing apart was not really a walk in the park, but it wasn't impossible either. Just took a little bit of care. Make sure to remove all the knobs and the screws and everything like that, and then just to carefully work it apart without forcing anything. And there are a couple series of screws here. The first series lets you take the case off, and this is the Sears model number 560.21810250. Appears to have been manufactured in late 1982. And there's the FCC ID, which indicates that this thing was manufactured for Sears by a company that was known as the Asahi Corporation of Japan. Now, that company joined up with the Casio Group in the early 1990s, and then it was liquidated and reincorporated as the, let me see here, oh, I can't see it now, the CCP Corporation of Japan. And the CCP Corporation of Japan is now supposedly, according to their website, a member of the Bandai Company. Now, I don't know if that's the same Bandai that makes toys and things like that, but maybe it is. Anyway, you can see that there were a few things they planned to do here. They clearly did think about giving this thing the ability to run from a wall outlet, and it also looks like they thought about allowing the end user to hook up an external antenna if they so desired. But as you can see here, there's really no room for an internal power transformer or the related circuitry in there. So they just left it out and said power this thing from a DC adapter if you have to. Getting to the tape mechanism, not as easy as it could have been, but after getting the cover off, removing the knobs, and carefully pivoting this entire framework out, the entire circuit board comes out mounted to one plastic frame that also contains the cassette mechanism. You can just see it hiding back there. Then I removed a couple of screws from the circuit board, and I carefully untaped part of this bundle of rainbow colored wires, and I mean they are everywhere, and some of these are fragile, so you want to be careful with them. Also, if you ever find yourself doing this on your own similar kind of boombox, or if you happen to have the same thing, you'll want to be careful with all of these and make notes as to how they were routed. I took a series of digital pictures before I undid any of the tape, and that will serve useful when it comes time to put everything back together. It will also come in handy if any of these wires should break off of their solder points. But over here is the AM/FM tuning board, and then over here is the power audio amplifier and tape circuitry board, as well as the collection of jacks and switches on the side. There's two switches up there on the top. The knobs stay attached to those, so be careful with them. But when I get down here into the tape deck, this will take a little fiddling. When I get down here into the tape deck, it becomes extremely clear to see that there are a couple of different belts here. There's one coming off of the motor down at the lower left-hand corner, I'm sorry. And it goes to this flywheel, and the flywheel in turn powers both the capstan and also supplies the driving power to the cassette reels and the counter and all that good stuff. Now in this case, what I have to do to get these belts out of here, the easy way to remove them would just be to cut them, but since I'm going to have to put new belts on here, I'll have to loosen a screw that's behind that hole right there, and then I can lift this assembly up and out of the way, and I can free all of the belts. I probably won't bother replacing the counter belt just because I really don't care about the counter too much, but all the other belts are going to have to be replaced because they are very clearly worn and flabby. I'm not sure I can demonstrate the effect here, but if I operate this thing, you can see how that belt is not really working properly at all, and that will of course allow the speed to just go all over the place. That should be nice and tight instead of flabby and loose like it is right now. So that's the next thing I've got to do to get this little boombox fully back on its feet again. Now, there is one more thing that's worth talking about here, actually two more things. First of all, there is what would appear to be the audio amplifier, the piece with the tab on it. And there's the cassette motor, and you'll notice that's a nice and beefy little motor for such a tiny little boombox to have. Now there is a speed control on that motor. You can see the hole right there for it. But that's obviously not the primary intended means by which the speed should be adjusted. No, instead that appears to be right here. You see that white hub right there? That actually has a Phillips screw head in it, and it controls the amount of tension that is placed against this pulley, and so in effect it would control the speed of the motor by placing varying amounts of load on it. I will probably have to set the speed on this machine because I did fiddle around with that a little bit, but that's no big deal. I'll just take my frequency test tape, plug something into the headphones, and tweak that until I can get as close to the desired frequency as is possible after putting new belts on here. But clearly that's how they intended for people to adjust the speed, because there is a hole right there in the circuit board that, if it were lined up properly, would line up with that adjustment so that you could have the unit put together and just dial in the speed as needed with a screwdriver while the unit was playing. So that's all there is to say for right now, but hopefully this thing will be going back together soon with some new belts, and it should be running like new once again. So thank you for watching.